Sought out Toastmasters online. I wanted to join a club, and the closest one to me was in Altamont, and it had about 6 people, like most Toastmasters clubs. And I had been to about 3 meetings, and I was ready to quit. I was like, this is not for me. It's no fun giving a speech to 6 people. And Tim pulled me over after the meeting and goes, dude, you can't quit. Here's what you do. Friday, go to Winter Park Toastmasters. Those are your people. And I went home and I told Tracy I'm going to give it one more try. A guy at the meeting said, go to this club, it's my kind of people. I came home from that meeting and Tracy goes, well, how was it? And I go, I have found my people. That was his kind of guy. And one other quick story, what he was just talking about. When I was president of the club, I was doing an online Zoom meeting at TLI, and all the different clubs were complaining, oh, we can't get enough people, no one joins, we don't have anybody. So, and they get to me and they go, how's it at Winter Park Toastmasters? We got like 80 people. We got too many people. Well, why is that? And I go, well, one reason is we got a guy named Tim Ricke that recruits people everywhere he goes. I think he stops people in the restroom and asks them. I don't know where they all come from. There's not a meeting that goes by without Tim bringing somebody. So be more like Tim.
Uno más. A and B. Linda. Bonnie. Mark. Benjamin. No. Habla. Tell him about how he helped you get your green card.
Yeah, from Chicago.
Yeah. Tim and I had this similarity. We lived in Chicago for some time. So he reminded me often about Perillos, about the stadium, about the Sears Towers, about Michigan Avenue. And this is why, shockingly, I say, that is where my accent comes from. Why? Yes, he was my mentor. I think for at least the first 10 speeches. But he was so dedicated for the mentees to succeed that he once came to my house. Yes, and he said, I'm going to explain to you the weak points and the good points, how you should address. And you have to talk louder because Tim Taylor is not going to hear you. So one of the things that I remember. And then he said, one way to improve your accent is to watch TV and talk to your wife in English. I said, I'm not going to have lunch or dinner if I talk to her in English all the time. But he was very good. I used to send him my speeches and return with several colors, yellow, red, and blah, blah, blah. You always say, you have to stress this point. So I remember him a lot.
Very good.
KNB.
One of the hardest decisions I had to make as president was to tell Tim Linger no. So he wanted to bring Darren LaCroix in to speak in front of the club. And we were having a hard time getting people to speak because we were running out of spots. I mean, there's only 4. So I had to tell him, no, we can't have Darren LaCroix. But Tim was like, he's the world champion of the world, or whatever he said. And I was like, Tim, no. And I kept on telling him, so we argued. And, I hate bringing that up at a funeral, but he was so passionate about wanting to expose Toastmasters to this really great speaker. And I truly still feel bad to this day. I had to tell Tim Linger no. So
Linger or Ricke? Which is it?
Oh gosh. Tim Conway.
Both of them.
Oh gosh.
Probably had to tell him
Sorry.
no more.
All right, it's been a long day. Tim Ricke. Okay, I got his name wrong. He got my name wrong too. Payback is payback.
I just want, hello, I'm Eva. I met Mr. Tim Ricke in 1 Million Cups, and he was the one who approached me and gave me good advices, and always I felt his support all the time. And as soon as I talked with him, he invited me to Toastmasters, And I say, no, I couldn't because I don't speak well English. He say, you do enough, you know. So, but he always pushed me to come, and I love his good attitude and his enthusiasm. And he say, you just have to try and don't worry about your accent. You can improve there. So there is the place when you can do better. So I always appreciate him. And was very hard for me when he passed because I was with. He was the one who mentored me in 1 Million Cups, but also he introduced me to Toastmasters and helped me until that week when he passed. So I was very impressed by how smart he was, but how easygoing was, and how humble and the good heart. So for that reason, I'm going to say a big thank you to him, and he pushed me to do the best I can. You know, even I didn't believe in myself. He said, "You can do it. Just go for it. Sign here and sign here." So I said, "For what? You can do it." And then I signed out, and then I find out I have to do the speech, the icebreaker, and I didn't know what was going on. But he said, "You can do it." And then I figured out for the next week I have to speak in front of the people. But I'm very glad I met him because he was the one who pushed me to go for it. And I'm going to remind him as a wonderful person, and he touched a lot of people's life. And me, I was one of them.
Eugene Rotari.
Hello, my name is Eugene, and I'm fairly new to the Winter Park Toastmasters. Is it loud enough? I wouldn't know. I speak low until I've met Ricke. Well, a little bit later. Before that, I went to the Winter Park Toastmasters. I had a presentation, and Tim approached me. At that time, I didn't know Tim, and he gave me his business card. He handed it and said, "Do you know Tony Robbins?" I was like, "Well, Tony Robbins, of course, people know who Tony Robbins is." And he said, humbly, "I'm his mentor, so I used to mentor his team." It was a rubbed off business card. I thought that was pretty interesting. He said, "If you want, we can talk at the Panera any day." Panera office, my office. And I talked to him, and he mentioned that he impersonated Elvis Presley. That was interesting. He also suggested me that he tell all his students to attend the Winter Park Toastmasters. That's how I got there. And then he shared some secrets with me. Well, maybe not a very sacred secret. He said, you have a pretty low voice." I had a low voice when I was like your age. And then he improved that, and it's hard to believe that he had a low voice because he was such a great speaker. So there were other secrets. I can't remember which ones. There was one about going to the spots. Some people know. But I'm still very grateful. I think it's a miracle that I've got to meet Ricke, and soon after attended the Winter Park Toastmasters, and memory eternal to Tim. Oh, one more. When I talked to him at the desk or table at the spots, I looked at him while speaking, and he reminded me of something, like a person who's very kind, and I didn't know how I knew that. Later on, I figured that he reminded me a teacher from school, from my art school, and she was a very kind person, but Tim was a man of great heart, although somehow he reminded me of like a symbol of kindness, and I'm like humbled that I've met this person.
Very nice.
Thank you. LaRue!
Check his pockets.
I don't have any.
Can you stand back?
Well, what to say about Tim Ricke? He always had a smile on his face. He was passionate about people. And speaking of hot sauce, he was probably the first person to mentor me regarding small business. He was passionate about entrepreneurs. I believe he was helping Elmira. There was an event before like the day before he passed, he was supposed to go to.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. He was the epitome of kindness. That's when I think of Tim Ricke. He may have not gotten our names right, but heck, he was sure as always was in a great mood to greet you and take you to the next step. And he was passionate about sports. I'm a Chicago sports fan, and he was probably the only one I could relate to at the club. He loved the Bears, the Cubs. He'd always talk about football. I'll miss those days too at the meeting. Wow. He's going to be really missed. Thank you.